estabelecidas as suas expectativas, a maneira com que elas interpretam, como elas lidam com as questões de certificação, e os caminhos de negociação também são conhecidos. Eu acho que dá para, não transferindo exatamente o que se faz num setor para o outro, pelo menos aproveitar todas essas discussões como um ponto de partida e ganhar tempo. A experiência florestal também nos mostrou que existem pontos de difícil alcance para consenso das áreas sociais, ambientais e econômicas. Para balancear, há uma necessidade da participação efetiva de todas as partes interessadas, também os produtores e comerciantes de produtos certificados. Além dos indicadores claros que possam satisfazer tecnicamente um processo de certificação, há necessidade de um reconhecimento que produtos certificados ainda podem ser questionados por interesses políticos e econômicos e que a estrutura do programa de certificação estabeleça canais muito claros para que todos os conflitos durante e pós uma certificação possam ser conduzidos. Para quê? Para que uma iniciativa de certificação voluntária não seja totalmente desacreditada ou desqualificada por uma questão de interpretação, uma zona cinzenta, uma brecha para indicadores não objetivos que foi instalado nesse programa. E aí a gente perde uma ferramenta de muito comprometimento para o desenvolvimento da sustentabilidade, que é o processo de certificação. Muito obrigada.
Many thanks, Rosemary, for bringing those very practical expertise in this debate. I have no doubt that all the participants understand that certification is a very complex issue. It's a topic which is really on fashion now for biofuels, but certification schemes need to be designed very carefully to avoid the kind of barriers you mentioned at the end of your presentation. I'd like to thank all the participants for the excellent speeches and presentation. We are well on time. We will have now more than 30 minutes for questions. I'd like to remind the participants that we will only take written questions, so please hand out your questions to our support team. And I would like to use the privilege of being the moderator of this panel to start with my questions, because in fact those presentations, I think, raise a lot of issues and questions. We have seen that certification might not be panacea, and I'd like to ask to Alexandra if there is no other ways in practice to demonstrate the compliance with the sustainability criteria included in the EU directive than certification. Are there other ways to demonstrate and verify the compliance with the sustainability criteria in the directive?
Thank you very much. That gives me... Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. That gives me the chance to elaborate a bit more on the scheme. Yes, there are different possibilities. The general idea is to set the framework of mandatory sustainability criteria in the biofuel sustainability scheme of the European Union, and then to have several ways of verification. On the one hand, there would be the possibility of assuring or verifying each and every single sustainability criterion step by step. This, of course, might be very administrative burdensome and costly. Therefore, there is the idea of using either existing voluntary industry-based schemes or governmental schemes which are in line with the criteria of the directive in order to make life more easy. There would be the possibility of, or the directive foresees to negotiate multilateral or bilateral agreements with third countries. And there is also the possibility of using other initiatives in international fora, like I'm thinking of the Global Bioenergy Partnership, for example, or other initiatives. You saw this picture of a broad range of initiatives. The idea is not to reinvent the wheel and to leave scope for using existing schemes, existing initiatives to make life more easy, to to use that experience which has been gained already and to use these existing schemes.
Thank you, Alexandra. Not sure will be very easy. Nick, you gave us some details about the RTFO, and you explained to us that the data that are reported on the sustainability of the biofuels are not verified. They are provided by the companies, and obviously we expect companies to act in good faith. However, in the last reports under the RTFO, I've noticed that almost no data was reported for sugarcane ethanol. So how do you explain that? Is that because we have very poor practices in the sugarcane sector, especially in Brazil, which I don't think this is the case? Or is it because maybe the RTFO reporting system is not well adapted for such countries and for countries where you have a very fragmented supply chain?
Thank you for that very simple question. The short answer is you have to take the data that we publish with a pinch of salt. You'll notice when you look at the data, which you can freely download, that we see some variance between months as the supply chain information that the companies are seeking to procure from their suppliers is regularized. To put it quite simply, I've seen everything from handwritten notes through to sophisticated computer inventories, and what we've learned is that no two companies perform the same way. There can be a huge difference between what are effectively different fields and the quality of data provided by those parties. I wouldn't read anything into the apparent absence of data coming from Brazil yet, simply because there is a lag. The external verification process hasn't yet begun, but will do. We've just now agreed the principles with the verifiers, the external independent verifiers. And I think we have to give the companies the benefit of the doubt for those who are choosing to only provide us with information when they're totally confident about its authenticity. In public relations terms, it would be catastrophic for a company to have to step back from a claim it had made, and I can empathize with those who have yet to provide data. Having said that, of course, they haven't got long in which to provide that data. Come January 2010, we will be publishing in microscopic detail the information provided to us by the companies. So that, I think, will contain the answer to your question. But it all comes down to the quality of the data furnished by the companies and their enthusiasm to embrace what is, after all, for now, a voluntary reporting scheme.
Thank you very much, Nick. I'm getting a lot of questions, so I will try to summarize and organize the questions by topic. I have a set of questions about the EU directive. This is not surprising, I think. I have a question on what would be the compatibility and of the voluntary scheme and the EU directive. How will they combine and survive in the market? A preoccupation also on if certification or sustainability requirements are legally binding, don't you think that this will be a disincentive for the production of biofuels if those criteria are too strict, for instance? And finally, on the EU scheme, the philosophy is that the criteria should be quantifiable and verifiable. So in this basis, it will be very difficult to include ILUC factors because science is not mature yet. So what's the view of the panel this time on this issue?
much again for this set of questions. First, for the scope of voluntary schemes within the overall context of the directive, the Commission very much promotes the further development of voluntary industry-based schemes or even governmental schemes which fulfill the criteria of the directive. The idea, as I was saying, is to not to neglect that there is already a broad range of experience out there, to not to force to reinvent the wheel, but to base work and experience on that useful work already being done. Therefore, the Commission incentivizes and promotes these schemes in order to fulfill the requirements of the directive, which would also make life much more easy, because then a producer being part of such a scheme would per se, by showing this certificate, already fulfill the requirements of the directive. The precondition for doing so would be that the scheme fulfills the criteria of the directive, not only the criteria, but also the verification procedure. We are doing currently work on how this could be done. We hope to be ready by autumn this year for the recognition of already existing schemes. Therefore, once a scheme is ready, it should be recognized towards the Commission. A checking would need to be carried out inside the Commission, and then, unfortunately, or this is how the European Union works, quite an elaborate process needs to be started. The Commission would make a proposal saying, in general terms, we agree that this certification scheme or voluntary-based scheme is in line with the criteria, and then comitology procedure would start. I don't know how familiar you are with that. For us, it's in one way or the other also a new field. This would mean a green light from the Commission on the scheme, but then you would have to bring together the technical experts of the member states, also checking upon the scheme, and also approval by the Parliament on the scheme. This is quite an elaborate procedure. And this would mean, if in an ideal world the Commission would be ready to recognize schemes by, let's say, autumn this year, I suppose, according to the procedures of the European Union, that would take 3 months, and then we would be beginning of somewhere around beginning of next year. But this is probably very ambitious and very optimistic, but this is what the Commission is working for.
This is a panel discussion. So let me just spice this up a little bit. Yes, so Alex, what you said in short was that the EU will set the rules and you're going to get other people to impose them, which is fine. Can you explain a little bit more about the incentivization? You keep talking about incentives. What incentives are going to be given to whom for what?
Thank you. Microphone.
No, you lost it already. Sorry.
The incentivization goes into the direction that, of course, obviously, it makes life much more easy if you comply with an already existing scheme, or if you become a member of a voluntary-based scheme which is ready for certification soon. And this, of course, would then be less administrative burdensome in fulfilling the sustainability criteria. This is the general incentive of doing so, and for being part of such a scheme.
Okay.